Today, I'm doing something a little bit different. Instead of bringing on a guest, I want to have an open and honest conversation about something we don't talk about enough, and this is burnout. Burnout is real, and I want to dedicate today's episode to talk about it. I've spent a lot of time thinking about workplace culture, leadership, and well-being, but one of the biggest threats to all of us is burnout. It sneaks up on us, drains our energy, and before we even realize it, we're just going through the motions. At least that's how it felt, and which is why I didn't do an episode last week, which I will talk about here in the end. But I don't want to just talk about it. I want to show you something. A while ago, I produced a documentary about burnout in the workplace. And in this episode, which I'm going to share here in a bit, we talked about burnout, and I brought in a neuroscientist to also give his perspective and also share mine. So let's watch it together, and I'll see you here soon. We all know this feeling when you've got too much to do, or when you've put up taking your lunch break and your blood sugar takes a dive. This narrows your focus to your immediate lag, to the sandwich you've got to have now, to the meeting that's starting in 5 minutes, or the bills that have to be paid by tomorrow. So the long-term perspective goes out the window. You could compare this to a new computer that's running 10 heavy programs at once. It gets slower and slower, making errors. Eventually it freezes. Not because it's a bad computer, but because it has to do too much at once. This is the problem we are facing in the healthcare industry and many other industries at large. People are not making bad decisions because they're bad, but because they're completely burnt out and living in a context in which anyone would make bad decisions.
A burnt out brain is one of the scariest things you will ever see. Like if you look at someone who's been like PTSD or sexual assault or domestic violence or some of these other things, and the trauma portion of those and how that affects your brain, and you put that next to a burnt out brain, they're almost identical. So like the center of your brain, the corpus callosum that connects the two halves of your brain shrinks. Your white matter, you have less white matter. A burnt out brain has less white matter, which is crazy. White matter is what allows your brain to send signals back and forth. Burnout, which is really like a lot of stress, also increases the aging process. Your memory is worse, because your hippocampus, where your memory center of your brain, starts to degrade as well, just like it does in Alzheimer's. Like when you look at an Alzheimer's brain and a burnout brain, again, super similar because it's all about inflammation. Like it's the scariest thing ever to look at a burnt out brain in relation to some of these other brain states like trauma or Alzheimer's or other neurodegenerative diseases.
You know, watching that clip again just reinforces how real this issue is. Burnout isn't just about feeling exhausted. It's about the mental, emotional, and even physical toll it takes. And the scariest part, it doesn't happen overnight. It builds little by little until suddenly you are completely depleted. I've experienced burnout so many times. There were times when I even convinced myself that I could push through, or that I don't even need to rest, or that I was fine. But the truth is, the longer you ignore burnout, the harder it hits. And it doesn't just impact you, it affects your work, your relationships, and the way you show up in this world. So again, burnout is real. I want to dedicate this segment to talk about why does this happen, especially in the workplace. And to be real, many of us are operating in systems that reward overworking. We celebrate busyness, we equate exhaustion with success, and in doing so, we forget that real success, sustainable success, comes from balance, not burnout. So to you managers, leaders, executives, business owners, if your best people are burning out, your workplace is suffering. Productivity, engagement, and retention all decline when burnout takes over. And if you, as a leader, are experiencing burnout, it's even harder to support the people around you. So what can we do about burnout? What can you do about burnout? But I'm here to tell you that burnout isn't an individual problem. It's a systematic one. But there are things that we can do. And number one is to recognize the signs. If you are constantly exhausted, detached, or feeling ineffective, those are warning signs. Pay attention to them. And number two, redefine success. Hustle culture has made us believe that rest is a reward. but it's actually a necessity. You need rest. Taking care of yourself is not being lazy, it's leadership. And number 3, having real conversations. We need to create workplaces where talking about burnout is not a sign of weakness, but a call to action. So again, burnout is real. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you took a real break? And I don't mean stepping away from your desk for 5 minutes or, going to the bathroom and watching TikTok videos on your phone. I mean a real intentional pause where you let yourself recharge. When was the last time you took a break? And again, I want you to let me know in the comments. And on my final thoughts, there's a reason why I'm even doing this video today. It's due to my own burnout. I skipped last week because I was genuinely tired. I was exhausted, and I knew that I needed to take a rest. So I hope this episode gave you something to think about. Burnout is real, and it's not something we can afford to ignore anymore. If you're feeling burnt out, please know you are not alone, and you don't have to push through it alone. Or you can ask for help. Again, thank you so much for tuning in today to listen to another episode of Heliona Insight. This is a bit different if you're watching it. I am Abraham Sise, the founder of Heliona. And if you don't know what Heliona is, we are a workplace culture and engagement company where our entire suites of products are designed to help your best people, your managers, leadership executives be the best versions of themselves. And I would love to talk to you. So reach out today and let's talk about how we can help your company and your leadership team managers be the best versions of themselves. Again, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you next week. Bye.